Friday the 20th of January 2023. Have you ever had the experience of God interrupting your prayer life? Times when you are happily praying away, offering your concerns to God, and instead of addressing them, God places an entirely different thought in your head. It's happened to me numerous times, usually over a period of days or even weeks. God keeps finding different ways to bring the same issue to my attention, whether it be in personal devotion, public worship, things I read or see on TV, or experience in life. It often happens over an extended period because I find I am either too busy to pay attention the first time, or even the second or third, or it happens because I am what Jesus lovingly, and with what I am sure is a twinkle in his eyes, refers to as one of little faith. Usually when this happens, it is because what God is trying to say is something that I am finding challenging, and so I'm not prepared to listen on the first occasion. It's been happening for me over recent days and weeks, and the theme of God's repeated coincidences has been calling. We are in the middle of 2 Sundays when the Gospel passages focus on the calling of the first disciples. God had been raising this issue with me before I had looked at the lectionary readings. I'm considering what the next step in my own calling as a minister might be at this time. All our circuits will be doing the same in terms of what we call the stationing process. Something someone said in a meeting recently hit me like a brick and caused me to stop and reflect. That was the day after asking God to give me some guidance. The day after that, I read something in a daily reflection which spoke to me on the same issue. And then the following day, the title in the next chapter of a book I am reading was, You Are Called. 4 days in a row. Okay, God, you have my attention now. I will stop and listen. What do you make of the issue of calling? Is it something reserved for ordained ministers? Absolutely not. In fact, I would say that is calling with a small c. We have many callings with small c's throughout our lives. They may be to do with the relationships we develop or the work that we do. Our calling with a capital C, which I think is the same for every one of us, is to be in relationship with God, to be in Christ through the power of the Spirit. All our small c callings follow on from that, because it is only when we are actively participating in the life of God that we can truly understand what God's individual callings for us are. Catherine of Siena once said, "Be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire." This world is hungry for genuinely transformed people. But how do we discover what our callings are? Maybe that is something you are considering at the moment. The spiritual writer Frederick Buechner once wrote, "The best advice I can give you is this: listen to your life. Pay attention to your life. You will find the answer if you listen." By and large, he says, a good rule for finding this out is the kind of work God usually calls you to is the kind of work that you most need to do, and that the world most needs to have done. The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. That is a statement about passion. So ask yourself, what will satisfy my soul? What will fulfill my passions? What about life thrills my heart? That will be different for each of us. Ray Anderson goes as far as to ask, if this particular thing is the last thing I will ever do on earth, will it be meaningful to me? If you are searching for your calling or a new calling, listen to what your life is telling you and ask yourself, What would I do if I weren't afraid? Maybe there you will find an answer. A prayer. Loving God, we thank you that you know us and search us, that we are yours and that you have and continue to call us. Help us to be still enough to hear your voice, open enough to receive your calling, and brave enough to give it a go. And where we are not, we give you permission to keep interrupting our prayer life until you have our full attention. Amen.